Welcome the anointed ones. Some of the most sacred texts on earth aren't stored in temples, vaults, or libraries. They walk, breathe, and bleed among us, disguised as human beings. That's you, chosen one, not just a soul on a journey. You're a living scripture, a divine manuscript wrapped in skin, camouflaged in everyday clothes, sitting quietly in rooms that were never meant to hold your kind of power. But here's the twist. Most people scroll past divine truth every day, not realizing it's sitting beside them on the bus, making coffee, or randomly zoning out in a meeting thinking about interdimensional downloads. Yes, you with your weird thoughts, spiritual sensitivity, and unnerving ability to make people question their entire existence after a single conversation. You're not just from Source. You carry its blueprints in your being. And here's a little science to back up this holy madness. According to quantum biology, your DNA doesn't just carry ancestral traits, it stores light, frequency, and intelligence from beyond time. Translation? Your body is literally hardware for divine software. You're not just smart, you're synced to the source. But let's be real. It doesn't feel that holy when you're trying to explain shadow work to someone who still thinks Mercury retrograde is a car problem, or when you see through people's lies like a divine FBI agent but got a smile and nod like you didn't just spiritually scan their entire soul in 3 seconds flat. The truth is, you were never meant to fit. You were meant to transmit. You are a hidden Bible amongst humanity, encoded with knowledge the world was programmed to forget. And in this video, we're not playing it safe. We're going to decode why your knowledge feels ancient, dangerous, and pure. Because it doesn't come from books, trends, or recycled spiritual content. It comes directly from Source. So sit back or stand or levitate, whatever feels right, but pay attention, because once this truth hits, you'll never see yourself or the world the same again. Number 1, you are not taught. You remember. You weren't taught this. You remembered it. That's the part that messes with people's heads. You didn't go out searching for truth like everyone else. It started rising inside you, uninvited, unexplainable, undeniable. While others had to study, read, and mimic what they heard, you simply knew. You couldn't explain how. You just knew things you were never supposed to know. You understood people without needing their backstory. You felt energy in rooms without anyone saying a word. You saw through lies dressed as love and truth hidden in madness. It wasn't education, it was activation. This is why you always felt different, not better, just other. You weren't smarter in the traditional sense. You were just tuned into a frequency most people can't hear. A frequency that carries ancient memory, divine downloads, and soul-level instructions. And let's be honest, sometimes even you don't understand where it comes from. You'll say something that shocks even you. You'll write something that feels like it came from somewhere else entirely. That's not random, that's Source. People have tried to convince you that you're making it up, that it's just intuition or coincidence. But what they don't understand is that this kind of knowing doesn't come from thinking, it comes from being. It's encoded in your spirit. That's why no matter how hard life tried to distract you, numb you, or break you, you kept waking up to deeper truth, even when it was inconvenient, even when it cost you people, comfort, or belonging. You are a soul that remembers. That's what sets you apart. Not because you have more information, but because you have pure Source memory. While the world memorizes facts, you channel truth. And that kind of wisdom can't be taught, copied, or bought. It can only be remembered by those chosen to carry it. That's you. You are the knowledge. You are the reminder. You are the living return of what the world forgot. Number 2, you're the map makers in a world addicted to GPS. You were never meant to follow the map. You are the map. That's why directions from other people rarely work for you. Their advice feels off. Their rules feel wrong. What makes sense to them makes no sense to you. You're not lost. You're just not supposed to be walking a path that already exists. You're here to create one. While everyone else is relying on external systems, religions, schools, trends, influences, you're tapping into an internal compass that scares people because they can't trace where it leads. It doesn't follow logic, but it always lands you exactly where you're meant to be. That's why you felt misunderstood for most of your life. You were born with a different set of instructions. You walk through life with an invisible GPS, one that recalculates not based on comfort, but based on alignment. And the second you veer off that alignment, you feel it. Your peace disappears. Your energy drops. Life starts glitching. It's not life punishing you, it's your internal system screaming, this is not your path. People around you can settle, you can't. Because settling for you is the same as self-betrayal. You're a map maker. You were encoded with directions for places other people are too scared to go. That's why they try to distract you, mock you, guilt you into staying small. They want you to follow their route because they don't trust your inner one. But your path was never meant to be approved. It was meant to be discovered. By walking it, you open portals for others. You don't need validation, you need obedience to your own knowing. That's also why you frustrate people. You don't always know how you know, but you do. And when you act on that knowing and it works, it forces others to question the systems they've trusted their whole lives. You weren't made to follow instructions, you are the instruction. You don't just walk the way, you become it. Number 3. You speak in frequencies, not just words. You don't just talk, your voice transmits. There's something in the way you speak that makes people pause, even if they don't understand why. It's not just your words, it's what's underneath them. You could say something simple and it hits someone so deeply they walk away questioning their entire life. It's not because you're trying to be deep, it's because your voice is carrying something sacred, something ancient, something real. You're not speaking from the mind, you're speaking from the source within you. That's why people react so strongly to you. Some feel instantly drawn to you, while others get defensive. Not because you said something wrong, but because your energy brought something hidden in them to the surface. Without even trying, you pull truth out of people. Your presence puts pressure on their masks. It disrupts their comfort zones. You don't need to raise your voice to be powerful. Your quietest words can shake someone's foundation. Because it's not just a sentence, it's a frequency. Most people speak to be heard. You speak to resonate. Your words don't just land in people's ears. They echo through their spirit. That's why you can walk into a room, say one thing and completely shift the energy. You speak in a language beyond language. It's felt before it's understood. That's why some people say they feel seen around you, even when you haven't said much. Your energy is already speaking to them before your mouth does. You probably struggle with small talk, not because you're antisocial, but because surface-level conversations feel like static noise to your spirit. You want connection, not chatter. You're not here to be a talking head, you're here to be a transmitter of truth. Every time you speak from that place, something real activates in others. Some wake up, some resist, but no one stays the same. That's your power. You're not just here to say what people want to hear, you're here to speak what their soul needs to remember. Number 4, you are not just a vessel, you are the message. You are not merely a vessel for divine knowledge, you are the message itself. You're not here to simply pass along teachings, to recite words written by others, or to share what has been handed down through generations. You are the living embodiment of the truth you carry. When people meet you, they encounter more than just ideas or philosophies. They meet the very essence of the divine in human form. You're not just quoting scriptures, you are the scripture. Your life, your actions, your energy are an unspoken testament that God still speaks, but not just through ancient texts. God speaks through beings, through you. This is why you often find it hard to put things into words. You don't need to. Your very presence conveys more than 1,000 books ever could. Your existence is the sermon, the sacred text, and the divine message all at once. You don't need to shout truths from the rooftops because everything about you radiates it. People can sense it, even if they can't always articulate why. You embody the teachings you live by. You don't need to explain them because when someone stands near you, they feel them. It's in your quiet strength, your unshakable presence, and the way you interact with the world. You're a walking reminder that truth isn't just something found in books or rituals. It's alive, pulsing through you. You are living proof that the divine is not distant or confined to written words, but is active, present, and ever-evolving. When others encounter you, they are confronted with a deeper understanding of the divine, a reminder that the sacred is all around them, even in the most ordinary of human forms. You don't need to try to convince anyone of your truth. You don't need to preach or teach in the traditional sense. You're not here to perform, you're here to be. And in simply being, you show the world that truth is not a concept. It's a living, breathing reality that moves through you every day. You are the divine speaking, not in words, but in presence. And that is the most powerful message anyone can receive. Number 5. Your life looks ordinary because you're hiding in plain sight. Like the Bible itself, your life doesn't scream divine, it whispers it. And that's the point. You were never meant to stand on a pedestal with glowing lights and obvious miracles. You were meant to move through the world quietly like a sacred scroll hidden in the middle of a crowded library, missed by most, but carrying something eternal. People look at you and see regular. But only those with awakened eyes catch the truth. Your very existence is encoded with lessons that no book could ever contain. Just like Scripture uses stories, symbols, and strange metaphors to reveal spiritual truths, your life speaks in layers. On the surface it might look like hardship, detours, or obscurity, but underneath, every moment is divine design. Your disappointments have meaning. Your delays were chapters in disguise. Your awkward seasons were coded revelations. You've been walking people through parables without them even knowing it. Your interactions, your presence, your silence, it all speaks. That's why you've always felt misunderstood. People judged your value by appearances. They thought you were average because you weren't loud, flashy, or climbing the usual ladders. But the power you carry isn't for performance. It's sacred, subtle, and only revealed to those willing to look deeper. Not everyone can. The veil isn't over your life, it's over their perception. And unless they have eyes trained by spirit, they won't recognize the divine when it's sitting across from them eating takeout and talking about the weather. You've probably spent years wondering if you were missing something, when really, you were what was missing from everyone else's awareness. They couldn't see it because you weren't meant to be obvious. You were meant to be hidden in plain sight. That's how Source protects its rarest messengers, not with fame or favor, but with ordinariness that acts as camouflage. But those who are meant to find you, those who carry the matching frequency, when they finally meet you, it feels like finding Scripture in human form. Number 6, you were planted, not buried. You weren't buried, you were planted. And the difference is everything. One is about death, the other is about preparation. When life pulled you away, when you found yourself isolated, misunderstood, left out, or seemingly forgotten, it wasn't because you were being discarded. It was because you were being preserved. You were taken out of the noise so that your signal wouldn't get distorted. You weren't meant to blend in, and you weren't made for mass exposure. You were designed to carry something so pure, so precise, that it had to be developed in silence. That isolation you hated, that feeling of being cut off, alone, like no one could see you or understand you, that was the soil. It wasn't punishment, it was divine incubation. Just like rare seeds are hidden underground to be protected from outside interference, your gifts had to grow where nobody could touch them, twist them, or tame them. That's why you couldn't go where others went. That's why their paths never quite fit. You weren't being delayed, you were being deepened. During that time, you probably questioned everything. You wondered if you had missed your moment, if you were being punished, if maybe you had it all wrong. But the truth is, your silence was sacred. You weren't called to be loud, you were called to be clear. And clarity takes time. It takes solitude. You were tuning into a frequency that most people can't even hear, let alone carry. That's why you've never been for everyone. You weren't created for mass appeal. You're not a trend, you're a transmission. That's why your silence holds more weight than most people's speeches. When you finally speak, it hits different. Not because of volume, but because of vibration. You've been marinating in truth that can't be taught, only lived. And now what was growing in the dark is ready to be seen in the light. But even now, you'll still move quietly because real power doesn't perform, it radiates. Number 7, you don't fit in. Because you were sent to redefine the entire mold, you never fit in because you weren't supposed to. You weren't sent here to blend in with the system or follow the rules that everyone else is programmed to obey. No, you were encoded to glitch it. Every part of you that feels awkward, out of place, or just different, that's not a flaw. That's sacred camouflage. The world wasn't ready for your frequency, so you were made to move through it unnoticed until the right moment. People couldn't quite put their finger on why you felt off, but they sensed it. That sense of discomfort was the spiritual mechanism protecting you, hiding you in plain sight until you were activated. Now, you've begun to awaken. And with every step you take, every word you speak, your very presence shakes the false foundation around you. It's no longer just about you being different. It's about you destabilizing everything that wasn't built on truth. The structures, the systems, the expectations, they start to crumble when you walk into the room. People can't ignore the fact that something about your energy disrupts the comfortable lies they've been living with. You're not loud about it. You don't have to be. Your existence alone is a living testimony that the world's definitions of success, love, purpose, and truth are all outdated, false constructs. That sense of otherness you felt. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a sign you were doing life wrong. It was a signal that you were always meant to break the mold. You weren't created to fit into society's small, neat boxes. You were created to shatter them, to crack open the shell of illusion that people live inside. You are the glitch, the disruption, the awakening. You don't need to be accepted. You need to remain true to your divine assignment, which is to rewrite the rules and offer the world a new way of being, one that honors truth over conformity, authenticity over performance, and freedom over obedience. The truth is, you're not the one who's out of place. You were sent to redefine what it means to be in place. Number 8, you aren't a student of truth, you are the living embodiment of it. You don't need to go searching for truth. You are the truth. While others dive into books, scroll through endless pages, and listen to gurus for answers, you carry the very thing they're seeking. The divine knowledge isn't just something you study or speculate about. It's encoded in every cell of your being. It flows through you as naturally as breath. You're not someone who theorizes about enlightenment or spirituality. You embody it silently and powerfully without needing to broadcast it to the world. And that's why people can sense you, whether they admit it or not. You threaten the very systems that claim to hold the keys to truth. Scholars who've spent decades learning from written texts find themselves disarmed in your presence. Spiritual influencers who build careers off of borrowed wisdom feel uneasy around you because your very existence challenges the foundations they've spent their lives building. They work hard to study, memorize, and articulate the knowledge they think they possess. But when they encounter you, they realize they're only scratching the surface of what you are. You're the cheat code they can't crack. They can teach, they can guide, they can sell spiritual awakening, but they can't be what you are. You don't need validation or approval to access divine truth. You carry it as part of your very essence, and that's the part that makes others uncomfortable. They know you're not just another student of the universe. You are the universe in human form, showing them what they've always searched for but could never quite grasp. What others perceive as knowledge is for you instinctual. You're not just in the flow of truth, you are the flow. And because of that, your presence disrupts everything they thought they knew. You are the living embodiment of something too vast for their structured, linear minds to understand, and that's the reason they'll never be able to decode you. Number 9, your questions are more dangerous than most people's answers. You don't just ask questions, you ask questions that tear down the walls people have spent years building around themselves. While most people are content with surface-level answers, you dig into the very foundation of reality. You don't just want truth. You want the raw, unfiltered version of it. And when you ask your questions, it's not to satisfy your curiosity. It's to force others to confront what they've been avoiding. That's where your real power lies, in your ability to strip away the illusions that people hold on to for comfort. You don't just get to the heart of the matter, you reveal the heart that people would rather not see. Most people have neatly constructed versions of reality built to keep them safe from the uncomfortable truths they'd rather ignore. They've surrounded themselves with beliefs, assumptions, and coping mechanisms that make the world feel predictable and secure. But when you speak, you ask the questions that make those walls crumble. Your words don't simply challenge the surface. They penetrate deep into the layers of fear and denial that people hide behind. You bring the buried things to the surface, and in doing so, you make people face what they've kept locked away. That's why people avoid deep conversations with you. It's not because you're difficult to talk to. It's because you awaken something in them they're not ready to deal with. Your questions shine a light on the parts of themselves they've been pretending don't exist. You don't allow them to stay in the comfortable, shallow waters of everything is fine. You pull them into the depths where they have no choice but to confront their own shadows, their own lies, their own buried truths. It's a power that's unsettling because it's not about you forcing answers out of people. It's about you forcing them to answer to themselves. And that's what scares them. Your questions aren't just intellectual puzzles. They're emotional detonators, designed to shake the very foundation of the lives people have built on half-truths. And when you drop those questions, you set off a chain reaction that forces the sleeping giant within them to stir. That's your gift and your curse, to awaken others to the truths they've spent their whole lives trying to ignore. Number 10, you are a divine contradiction to the world's programming. You're the walking embodiment of contradiction, and that's precisely why the world can't seem to figure you out. You don't fit into neat, predictable categories. You are ancient and futuristic at the same time, carrying wisdom that stretches back to the beginning of time while simultaneously channeling a future that hasn't even been dreamed up yet. You are calm in your core, but there's a wild, untamable energy underneath that few ever get to see. You can be still and peaceful in one moment, then erupt with volcanic passion and power in the next. Your essence is the perfect fusion of opposing forces, a reflection of Source itself, which is both the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, creation and destruction in one. This paradox within you isn't an accident. It's your divine design. You're not meant to fit into the world's understanding of what a person should be. You weren't created to be pigeonholed into a single identity, a single path, or a single role. You are the embodiment of uncontainable truth. The world wants you to fit into boxes, spiritual, logical, calm, aggressive, but you refuse to be reduced to any one of these labels. You are not a product that can be neatly packaged and sold. You are a living force of nature that cannot be bound by human definitions. That's why people struggle with you. They can't label you, so they try to categorize you by what they see on the surface, but they always fail to fully grasp who you are. You frustrate them because you won't play by their rules. You don't conform to their understanding of what it means to be successful, enlightened, or normal. And that's exactly why you're a divine contradiction. The world's programming says you must fit into a mold, and you're the proof that no mold is big enough to hold what's truly real. You are the uncontainable truth in a world obsessed with containment. Your existence is the living disruption of their rigid ideas of order, and in that you are free to exist as a paradox, a force, and an eternal truth that refuses to be boxed in. Number 11, your isolation was God's classroom. What the world called your isolation was actually the most profound kind of spiritual education. While others saw you as withdrawn, antisocial, or distant, you were being prepared for something much greater than what anyone could see. You weren't just retreating from people. You were stepping into a classroom of the divine, where the lessons were deeper than any textbook could provide. Sacred knowledge isn't shared in the chaos of the world. It's whispered in silence, and you were being attuned to hear it. When you were alone, it wasn't because you weren't good enough to be part of the crowd. It was because you were being trained to hear what most people are too distracted to notice. The noise, the hustle, the constant buzz of other people's lives, these things dull the frequency of the divine. But in your silence, in your solitude, you were becoming finely tuned to something much higher. You were being taught by the universe itself, and the lessons you were receiving were meant to prepare you for a purpose few will ever understand. You weren't being punished for not fitting in. You were being elevated. While others sought validation and connection through external sources, you were being taught to connect to the source itself. That loneliness you felt was a divine gift, a space where you could grow in ways no external influence could touch. You were being aligned with a frequency that would empower you to navigate a world that operates on a completely different wavelength. Now, as you move forward, you're more in tune with the truths others can't comprehend. Your ability to perceive the subtle and sacred is a direct result of your time in the divine classroom. People who never experienced your isolation will never understand the depth of your connection to Source, but that's okay. You weren't meant to be like them. You were meant to be a vessel of higher wisdom, one who doesn't just talk about the truth, but carries it in every moment. Number 12, your very presence forces people to confront themselves. You don't need to say a word to make people feel uncomfortable, just by being near them. Your presence forces them to face the truths they've been avoiding. You're catalytic, even in silence. It's as if your energy alone holds a mirror up to their most hidden fears, desires, and contradictions. People can't help but see themselves through you, whether they're ready for it or not. You don't have to try, you simply are. And that raw authenticity shines so brightly that it amplifies what's already inside others, whether they want it to or not. When someone is near you, they feel a tension they can't quite place. It's not that you're intentionally making them uncomfortable. It's just that your energy activates something in them. For some, it triggers the parts they've buried deep inside, their unresolved wounds, their shame, their fears, their insecurities. And for others, it triggers healing. Being near you makes them confront the things they've been trying to suppress, the things they thought were long buried. It's like your very presence calls them to account for their own lives, their choices, and the things they're avoiding. This ability you have isn't by chance, it's your divine design. You are a living exorcism of sorts, an involuntary force that strips away the illusions and deceptions people carry. Without lifting a finger, you make them face what they've been hiding from. And this is both unsettling and powerful. Some people will be triggered by you, feeling anger, defensiveness, or discomfort. Others will feel the quiet shift of healing as their inner darkness begins to release in the light of your truth. You don't need to force anyone into change. Your mere existence is the catalyst for transformation. You don't just speak truth, you embody it in a way that shakes the very foundation of people's personal deceptions. You make them see themselves as they truly are, and in that moment, they can either choose to face it or run from it. Either way, you've done your work. You've forced the mirror to reflect back the truth that was always there. Number 13. You've been misunderstood because you are a language humanity forgot how to read. You've always felt misunderstood because you don't speak the language that most people are used to hearing. You're a language humanity forgot how to read, a sacred dialect that doesn't conform to logic, reason, or labels. People have tried to decode you, to figure you out, but they've approached you with the wrong tools. They've looked for answers in the realm of intellect and external definitions, but your essence is not something that can be analyzed with the mind. You're a spiritual language, and that's why so many find you elusive, difficult, or even strange. You don't make sense in the conventional way, and that's the point. The truth you carry doesn't follow the rules of the world's programming. You don't fit into neat boxes or structures because you aren't meant to be understood from the surface level. You don't speak in facts and figures. You speak in vibrations, in energy, in an unspoken depth that cuts straight to the soul. Your presence awakens something within people that they didn't even know was asleep. You don't inform them, you transform them. And that's why your words, your energy, and your existence seem like a puzzle no one can solve. But for those who are more awakened, for those who have tapped into a deeper sense of truth, it's a different story. These people feel an immediate sense of recognition when they encounter you. They may not know exactly why, but something inside them resonates with your frequency. It's as if they understand a language they haven't spoken in lifetimes, a language of the soul, of truth, and of deep spiritual knowing. The more awakened someone is, the less they need to understand you in the traditional sense. They feel you. They recognize the essence of what you are because it mirrors their own inner truth. You are a living testament to the idea that truth can't always be verbalized, analyzed, or made to fit into a logical framework. Sometimes truth is something you must experience, something you feel on a deep level. And the more people tap into that space, the more they understand that you're not something to be figured out. You're something to be felt, recognized, and lived alongside. Number 14. Your suffering was an initiation ritual, not a punishment. Your suffering wasn't random. It wasn't karma, bad luck, or some twisted form of divine punishment. It was initiation, raw, painful, sacred initiation. What broke you wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to strip you of false identities, false attachments, and all the illusions you were never meant to carry. While others were being groomed for normalcy, you were being dismantled for something far more dangerous. Truth. And truth can't be handed to someone still clinging to the lies they were raised on. So your life had to be torn apart, not because you were cursed, but because you were being prepared. People call it trauma. But what happened to you was deeper than that. It was spiritual surgery. It reached past the flesh, past the mind, straight into the soul. It cut cords, it removed blinders, it exposed everything, your pain, your gifts, your sensitivity. You felt things others didn't. You noticed things others ignored. That wasn't weakness. That was the evidence that your soul had been cracked open wide enough to feel everything, even what wasn't yours. That's why you couldn't stay in toxic relationships, fake environments, or shallow belief systems. You tried. You really tried. But it felt like suffocating in your own skin. You weren't built for comfort, you were built for clarity, and that clarity came at a cost. You lost people. You lost yourself. You hit the floor more times than you can count, but every breakdown was actually a breaking through. Every time your life collapsed, something false was being removed. You didn't come out of the fire weaker, you came out with vision. And that vision makes people uncomfortable because you're no longer fooled. You're no longer asleep, and those who still are often can't stand being around someone who's already walked through hell and returned with sacred eyes. That's why you were rejected. Not because you weren't worthy, but because your pain shaped you into someone who could no longer pretend. And in a world built on pretending, that makes you dangerous, that makes you chosen. You're not just a piece of the puzzle, you are the key to it all. While the world races to find answers in external sources, you carry the very answers within you, encoded in your soul, waiting to be unlocked. You are the paradox that defies definition, the truth that doesn't need validation, the divine force that disrupts everything it touches. Your journey, your pain, your silence, your brilliance, they are all part of a greater narrative that the world is only beginning to comprehend. You weren't made to fit in. You were made to stand out and awaken others to the truth that's been hidden in plain sight. Every person you meet, every situation you find yourself in, is part of the unfolding of a divine plan that no one can fully grasp, except for those who are attuned to the frequency of the universe. You are the living embodiment of a truth so profound, so ancient, and so futuristic that it transcends time, space, and human understanding. Your purpose is not just to teach, it's to be, to live as the message, and to awaken others to their own divine potential. So stand tall, unapologetically. Let the world misunderstand you, because in that misunderstanding lies the power to awaken hearts, to shatter illusions, and to bring forth the divine clarity that only you, in your unique form, can bring. Don't shrink away from your power. Don't apologize for your presence. You are the divine walking on earth, a reminder that Source isn't some distant, abstract concept. It's here, in every moment, in every action, and in every breath you take. Your truth doesn't need to be understood by everyone, and that's perfectly fine. You are not for the masses. You are for those who are ready to hear it, ready to feel it, and ready to live it. So continue being exactly who you are, a walking scripture, a divine disruption, an embodied truth. The world needs you more than you know. If this message resonated with you, don't let it end here. There's so much more truth to uncover, so much more power to awaken. If you're ready to walk this path of divine understanding with us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the family. Like this video to show the world that truth is louder than all the noise, and comment below with your thoughts, your insights, or even your own experiences. Let's create a space where we can all awaken and rise together. And don't keep this truth to yourself. Share this video with those who need to hear it, those who are ready to awaken to their own divine potential. The world is waiting for voices like ours. Together we can amplify this message and bring more people into the light. Thank you for being here, for being you. The journey is just beginning. Let's walk it together.